if you're someone who's always fixing, always helping, always managing everybody else's stuff behind the scenes, if you're the one who calms everyone down, cleans up the emotional messes, anticipates everyone's needs, and smooths over the edges before anyone else even notices, then I want to gently ask you something, which is, when was the last time somebody did that for you? When was the last time you got to fall apart without guilt, without cleaning it up and covering it up, and without feeling like you had to earn the right to rest or even exist? And if the answer is you can't remember the last time that happened, that is not your fault. That is not your fault. That is just the weight and the repeating pattern of a role you were taught, right? And which you have been carrying for way too long a time. You see, some of us learn early on in childhood that being helpful is the safest way to belong. That if we're valuable, if we're responsible, if we're useful, we'll be kept around. We won't be abandoned. Maybe we'll even be loved. So we become the fixer. We become the one who jumps in and takes care of everything. The one who notices what's needed. The one who swallows their own needs and stuffs them down in order to hold it all together for everyone else. And over time, over decades, it becomes second nature. You don't even notice you're doing it anymore until one day you wake up and you are tired in a way that no nap can fix. And under that fatigue is often something we're not even allowed to admit, which is resentment. Resentment. Not because you don't care, not because you're not responsible, but you care too much. And because you're taking on more than is actually your share. Because there's this ache inside you that says, why am I always the one who has to keep it together? Right? Why doesn't everybody see how much I'm holding and how it's way too much for me to handle by myself? And finally, of course, when is it my turn to be the one who's being cared for? That quiet resentment you feel is not a flaw. It is a signal. It is your soul saying, this is just not sustainable anymore. And then here's the shift. The truth is, you are allowed to stop being the fixer. Not because everything is resolved, but not because the people around you have finally changed, right? But because you are no longer available to carry the things that were never actually yours to begin with. Right? And this is where the idea of boundaries and the practice, almost like the martial art of boundaries, becomes less about saying no and more about asking, what is actually properly mine to hold and what is not? You see, you can still be kind. You can still care and set boundaries, but you simply no longer have to trade your peace and your dignity and your capability just to manage other people's chaos, right? In exchange for this kind of hidden payoff that you get in return. So here's something you can try the next time you feel that old pull to jump in and fix and rescue, which is to pause, take a breath, and ask yourself internally, do I actually want to take this on? Or am I doing it because it's familiar and kind of part of an old contract that I don't even remember signing up for? Okay, and another question you can ask is, if I don't step in right now, just hypothetically, what might actually happen? And if that happened, would that actually be okay? And then another question. What would it feel like to just stand here, take no action, and just let this be? Okay. Now, I'm not saying you actually do it, but at a minimum, in your own mind, at the thought experiment level, at the hypothetical level, let yourself experiment. Let yourself be messy. Let yourself be human. And then see how that then projects out into the outer world over time. Because you're not actually a machine built for crisis response, right? You're not an appliance. You're an actual living, breathing human being who deserves their own inner space too. Okay. And if all of what I'm describing is something you have actually been quietly living with for a long time, right? And my words strike a chord in you, in that place where you always keep going, right? I just want to share that I offer this program called the Boundaries Quickfire Program, which is intended and designed to be a soft place for people like us to finally learn how to stop overgiving, right? Without having everything collapse all around us, right? Because one of our biggest fears as overgivers is that the minute we stop, our worlds will collapse, right? And a program like this is meant to teach you how to take your hand off the steering wheel and still feel safe in the silence that follows. Okay. And the program is there if you want to go deeper. But even if you never click on another thing by me, please know this. You don't have to keep fixing everything. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to be loved without being useful first. And you don't have to earn your love. Not anymore.